It's overtaken a big piece of the banking system. So if private equity is starting to show signs of wear, that's a concern. Now, having said that, I'm still bullish. And I think here's the key point. Let me make this point. You've got two big drivers in the economy. You got fiscal policy and monetary policy. And for the last 30 or 40 years, the focus has been overwhelmingly on monetary policy because we've just accepted that fiscal policy is abysmal. We've been running debt and deficits for as far as the eye could see, looking back, and we just assumed that that's part and parcel of what. So we didn't expect any improvement in fiscal policy. It's been obscene, the debt and the deficit and the level of spending and the waste and all of that. So the focus has always been on the Fed and monetary policy and what's the Fed doing. But I got to tell you, fiscal policy is a bigger driver than monetary policy. And we've had a lot of changes in fiscal policy here. The tax code has changed with the big beautiful bill. They're talking about capital gains, but that's in the talking stages. But the other side of it, the deductions, the incentives to investment, that's all really big driver in fiscal policy. So, we're all focused on the wrong shining object.
But you talk about the getting the debt down and tariffs and Trump is talking about giving a check to everybody for the tariff money, not really paying the debt down. So maybe that's going to spur growth by everybody going out and spending it. But from what we said previously about people need help with their mortgages, I think anything that gets to the consumer is going to go in his back pocket and not leave. It's not going back into the economy.
Well, it's fiscal stimulus, and it does retire, in effect, it retires a private debt. So that is a stimulus.
Yeah.
But reduction in the deficit can happen a lot of different ways. He's nibbling at it, and he's taking big chunks out of it. This whole idea we talked about previously about short funding the debt could cut the interest payment on the debt by 2/3. So that would be a big, don't forget, the debt doesn't have to go away. It just has to get smaller or smaller relative to GDP.
Mm-hmm.
If GDP grows and the debt remains the same, it's less of a drag on the economy.
It's less of a burden, but the burden is still there. It's not going away. Congress hasn't found a way to stop spending.
I don't think in our lifetime we're ever going to see the debt go away. But it doesn't have to go away for things to improve. It just has to shrink relative to GDP. And there's a couple of ways to do that. You can cut some costs. Look, there's a couple of major drivers here. One, whether or not Trump is going to be successful remains to be seen. But his goal is to shrink the public sector and grow the private sector. And he's initiated fiscal policy to do just that. Now the government's shut down. So he's got an opportunity, and I don't know how much of it he's going to take, to reduce the federal payroll. And he's probably going to do a little bit of that. And he's created a lot of incentives for private sector growth. So those are very positive things. So even though the economy seems to be slowing down, it might be an opportunity to buy this market. Again, if we see a sell-off based on economic activity.